Welcome, everybody, and I'm excited to have our Black Love segment today. Listen, we have a great show in store for you. It's going to be a family affair because I got to tell you, I love Pastors JJ and Trina Hairston. And one thing we do have in common is that we love love, right? We love marriage. We're marriage advocates. We've been married a number of years, so it's going to be a great conversation tonight. We're also talking with Jabari Johnson and his fiancé, Jasmine Ellis. So we're talking new love and we're talking veterans in love. And so with me tonight, I'm going to bring him on. It is my brother, my friend, Pastor JJ and Trina Hairston. Hopefully they're there. Hey guys!
Hey, hey sis, how are you?
Hello.
So good
Welcome.
to see you.
So this is our favorite topic. We're going to talk about we're going to talk about love. So they'll let us know when Jabari jumps in. But if you don't know Pastors JJ and Trina Hairston, of course, JJ, national recording artist, multiple award winner, songwriter, producer, all of those great things, worship leader, minister of music, and husband to Trina Hairston. That's his twin, right? Trina, author and worship leader, now pastor with her husband at All Nations DC. Also, an amazing anointed woman of God. I said author because I referenced a little bit of the book, A Miracle Marriage. I posted a little bit about that and some things that you guys have done. So, hey, Trina. Hey, JJ.
Hey
Hey,
Cheryl, how are you?
I'm good. I pray that all is well. This is Love Month. Of course, so today we're going to be talking about Black love. So while we're waiting on Jabari and Jasmine to come, let's just start with your story. It's a real interesting story as to how you guys met. And, and then we'll talk about modern day stuff, but talk about how you guys met and we'll get into the conversation.
we'll start.
Mhm.
Okay, so I we're both originally from New York, and we moved to Connecticut when we were young. She was younger than I was. So when I moved to Bridgeport, Connecticut, my mother started going to this church in Bridgeport, and there was this choir singing, and it was called the Teens of TFT, and the choir was cool. They sounded pretty good. But then there was this girl in the choir I wanted to get with, so I joined the choir to get with her. It was Trina. Uh, and we started going together when literally we were kids. So we've been together like more than we've been separate in our lives.
Mm.
So 5 years later, as kids, we got married. And wow, we've been married now 28 years.
Wow.
But in that 28 years, we've had initially, because we started out, we literally went to a justice of the peace. Didn't tell anybody we were getting married. Just
How old were you when you got married?
I was 18, you were 19.
okay. She
Yeah,
knows better than I do.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
Just turned 18.
right. That makes sense
Mhm.
now. Yeah. And literally, we were kids. Like I'm thinking about now, my daughter is 19,
Mm-hmm.
and
And if she
I
did
would,
that to you,
I would wring her neck. But we were in love, and we want, I wanted to be with her. So we got married. But here's the crazy thing: we got married and went to separate homes.
Mhm.
We didn't tell anybody we were married. So when you have that separation there, and you're young like that, that room leaves opportunity for other stuff to happen. So
Mhm.
we got married, but still we're acting like we were single, and it because of that we didn't know whether we were gonna stay together. So we talked about getting divorced. We talked about all that. So we call our marriage a miracle because we went from like considering divorce to now being marriage counselors and
Mhm.
pastoring together and ministering together. So we have quite an interesting journey, and we're so grateful that we've been able to help others through our story. But then also we're grateful that we are now in the best season of our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. I met my husband young and we grew up together too, but I was a little older because I was in college
Okay.
when
Mhm.
I met him. And my courtship was very tumultuous. Like The whole time I kept saying, "Is that who you have for me, Jesus?" It was horrible, but the marriage is wonderful, and because we matured and grew together, and we dated 6 years. So
Wow.
by the time we were married, I was 30, so we were ready.
Yeah.
So that's what the maturity was, is that we kind of grew up with each other outside of saying I do, and kind of really matured into the point now where I love love, I love marriage. I know that marriage can work, and it really is, for me, relationship with the Lord. It really is the fact that we both have relationship with the Lord, that I can trust him to lead the house, and you know what I mean, and he can trust me to support him 100%.
Yeah.
And make the marriage work successfully. So you guys have been very, very transparent about the tumultuous times, because one of the things I do realize, my daughter, she has a lot of friends who married young. Your son married pretty young, although they're very mature to be.
Yeah.
They learn some things, you know what I mean? They've got great example. But a lot of young people today who are in love with Jesus are not waiting. You know what I mean?
Right.
They're getting married and they're being successful at it.
Right.
And but talk about some of the things that was the most vulnerable, because one thing my husband and I teach about is intimacy. And intimacy is not sex. Intimacy is literally being free to be vulnerable with your mate. It may lead to it. It may lead to sex, but it totally is not just sex, right?
Right.
And so before we get into that, I just got word Jabari's here. So let's bring Jabari and Jasmine up. Yay! Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, guys. Welcome. Welcome.
Jabari.
Welcome.
What's
Hi,
good, bro?
Jabari. Hi, Jasmine. I'm Cheryl Jackson.
Nice to meet you.
I've watched you grow up from afar. I'm Church of God in Christ, so I've kind of known and loved your dad for years, your parents for years. And
I'm not hip. Who's your parents?
Bishop Ellis, J. Delano Ellis is her dad.
Stop playing.
Pastor Reverend Ellis. Yeah, Sabrina
I never
Ellis.
knew that.
Mom.
Wow.
Yes. So I've watched you guys. I watched you grow up. So I'm really, really happy. I'm from afar, and I'm really happy for you and Jabari. So welcome tonight for our Black Love segment here at Praise 104.1. So we already talked to JJ and Trina before we get into our intimacy conversation. Let's talk about how you guys met. Let's talk about how you guys met.
How did we meet? No, I'm playing. We met at church. Met at church. We were friends first for 2 or 3 years, and then I had a show in Houston because I was on tour with Toby Nwigwe.
Mm-hmm.
And she flew out, and I was on stage during sound check, and she was just standing out there on her phone. I looked at her, I was like, she kind of cute. I ain't really looked at her like that, you know what I'm saying? So I got off stage from singing, and I just walked up behind her, trying to be, just being fresh. I just walked up behind her and grabbed her on her hip, and she turned around and looked at me, and then, she wanted to marry me after that. That's it.
That sounds about right.
Yep.
What's your take on it, Jazz?
It's a variation of that story. But yeah, we were good friends. I learned way more than I may have wanted to know about him at that friend stage. Like, we were really, really close. So close, people thought we were together, and we really weren't. Like, we were like, no, I swear, like, we're just friends. So when we actually started dating, we were like, I think we're gonna have some explaining to do, because we were gonna think we was lying this whole time. But yeah, I went to the concert. I think we both kind of felt an attraction at that moment. It was like, okay. I wasn't gonna say nothing though. And a mutual friend actually who introduced us all those years ago called me, and he was like, I think he likes you. And I was like, no, he can't possibly like me. And he was like, you need to ask him because I think he likes you. And so I called him and asked him, and he was like, wow, where did this come from? Like, just answer the question. You know?
And I talked to him, and I was like, I talked to my homie because they grew up together and all that. I was like, yo, I think, I like her. What you think? He was like, man, you should just tell her. And he left it at that. And then he proceeded to call her. I was just like, you weirdo. Like, yeah.
That's how it happens. And so you got engaged December what? December 10th? 8th. I saw it on social, I guess, to December 7th. I was doing some research. And so, so you decided to pop the question. Why, Jabari?
Why?
Woo! Because I knew I couldn't, I didn't want to spend the rest of my life without her. So I said, let me go ahead and do this. Because, she was like, I thought I had like 2 years, and I kept playing with her. Like before the engagement, I was like, I'm not even ready to be married. Like I still got 2 years. You told me I had 2 years. And she was like, all right. And when y'all women give us that, all right, that's loaded. It comes with a lot, so it's like, figure it out. So I just knew I just didn't want to spend the rest of my life without her. I love her, and that's just really all it is to it. So I started acting real weird. I was nervous, yo. I'm for real. Like that was the craziest thing I ever did in my life. So when she walked out, you saw the video. She walked downstairs. I was like, just hold my hand. She was looking at me like, bro, like, can you like you really get on my nerves? So I just let her hand go. And she was texting when she walked through the door. And when she saw everybody in there and the candles, we had put the little shindig together. To her knees, she went crying and screaming. So I said, all right, cool. I guess I did it right. Yeah, but I just knew I can't spend the rest of my life without her. So here we are.
Amen. When did you realize that, JJ? Oftentimes the, chivalry isn't dead, so the man finds us, right? So when did you realize I just can't live the rest of my life without her?
You know what? To be honest, this is gonna sound real corny, but I've known all my life since the day I met her, she was gonna be my wife. That's to be honest. Now I didn't always act like it, but I knew it. But I can honestly say this is how old we are. We went skating, and 9 months we had never touched, we had never held hands, no nothing. We were actually before we went skating, we church kids. So we went to this concert. It was John P. Key, Hezekiah Walker.
Man.
We Wilmington Chester Mass Choir.
That's a good concert.
It was crazy. Bishop Kenneth Mose used to have this huge Easter concert every year. So we at this concert, and everybody's up there killing the house. But what happened was, when we were sitting together, we had to. It was so packed that we had to sit so tight that our legs touched. So we never got up. So everybody else was standing up, sing Bishop, and we never got up because we didn't want our legs to stop touching. I knew
that's so good
that she was gonna be my wife.
That's so good.
I know what she had on and everything. It was crazy. Yeah, this this forest green outfit.
Okay, we'll talk about that later. Y'all don't want to.
So Ron Thompson's on. He said, "Thank you guys so much for saying yes to be a part of
Ron.
Streaming on all of our platforms at Praise 104.1. We've got our Spirit 1340 station as well. So we're doing it simulcastly. So we've got our Facebook and we've got our YouTube and we're on the website. So for those who are watching, there's a bunch of comments of people saying, hey, they're so cute. Oh, I love them. For those that are watching, of course, if you have questions, you could put them in our, hey, Chima, you could put them in our comment section. And of course, we will address those questions to them. So we have marriage, of course, veterans who've been married. How many years now, JJ? 28?
28 years.
28 years. 26 for me and my husband.
Wow.
And then Jabari and Jasmine. And I didn't formally introduce them, but you know, Jabari, recording artist, Grammy Award winning guitarist, which I'm really excited that you were with Toby and all the things that you brought the dynamics to them. And then Jasmine is I might have to reach out to Jasmine because she's a brand and product strategist. We need her, right? Manager, digital marketing, all of that, fashionista. So just all around amazing. So I'm really, really excited to have you guys tonight. We got the gamut. So again, you can ask questions while I have them here. So we're about to jump into this intimacy question. You guys will understand this. You know, if y'all not frisky already, you'll understand what the intimacy piece. But when you talk, look at Jabari.
Got on camera.
When we talk about intimacy, we're not literally talking about sex. We're talking about being vulnerable with your mate, right? Intimacy is literally to the point where you're not ashamed about anything when it comes to you and your mate. So you'll share the intimate parts of you, the things that nobody else knows about you and nobody else loves about you. It is about being vulnerable with your mate. Share with us, if you don't want to get too personal, but a vulnerable space, a vulnerable example of intimacy in your relationships. And we'll start with JJ and Trina.
So I'll start and I'll let her take over because she can explain how significant this was for us. There was a time where we were separated, and when we were separated, of course, we would argue and fuss a lot. And what she did intentionally was allow herself to be my friend. So we talked a lot in that season about stuff that normally couples would be very uncomfortable talking about. Mm-hmm. And for both of us, we had to allow ourselves to be vulnerable in a way where I can tell you stuff that normally would make us argue, but right now I can tell you because I trust you, not only with what I'm going to tell you, but I trust your response. And for her, it really shocked me that she was able to hear me in that way. And I think that season, even though we've been together all these years, we were the most vulnerable with each other during that season. I'm not sure how she was able to do it. That's why I said she can take it over. But that showed me that she was not only my wife, but my best friend.
Yeah. I just think that sometimes couples get into marriage and it just goes on autopilot. It's like, you know, you're here. I know you're going to be here. I know you're coming home. And I think we forget or somehow or another lose our friendship with each other. Like when we were dating, we would stay on the phone all night long, like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning talking. And there was a season in our lives where we kind of lost that because, again, it was autopilot. It was church. It was children, all these other things that and because I guess we just knew we were going to be with each other, we just kind of lost that piece of it. And so I thank God that we reached a place where we could be really, really vulnerable with each other and tell each other the deepest things, even though he might have said something to me that would have normally been hurtful or vice versa. It was still helpful information because it broke down walls, and that allowed us to be closer. That, to me, like you were saying earlier, Cheryl, that leads to those, you know, sexual encounters because we've broken down those walls. There's no secrets. There's no mysteries about each other. And so my advice would be to any couple out there, don't lose your friendship and don't prioritize other things over your marriage. Make sure you keep that friendship there and those vulnerable moments. It'll help you grow stronger.
Right. And that's the absolute truth. And that's exactly what intimacy is. It's, you know, prayer is intimate.
Yeah.
When you can begin to hear the heart of your mate, of the person who what really concerns them,
right,
and it doesn't shake you, it doesn't move you, and you're comfortable with doing that with each other, That's why when you have these girl boy prayer partners, that's a little, that can be a little intimate. You gotta be careful.
Right.
You gotta be careful with that. Jabari and Jasmine, what's a vulnerable moment or an intimate moment that you guys have experienced? That's for Jasmine. Okay.
I think so. I can name two for sure.
Hold on, what they
two instances. One is, I think the world kind of knows, especially after your introduction of me, my grief has been, the last 2 years. My dad has passed September 19th, 2020. And it was one thing for him to pass and me say, man, I got to get married without my dad. It's another thing for 2 years later for me actually getting married without my dad, right? And so that's been like, not a point of contention, but just it's like I'm grieving all over again. It's like I never really stopped, but it's like fresh all over again. And so there have been instances where my grief will overshadow my intent in conversation. And it can, like, I'm not trying to be offensive, but it's like, I'm saying what I'm saying. It's not you. I'm mad at him. I'm not mad at you. And so I think that's one thing, even as recent as a few weeks ago, like, that's been a really vulnerable space for me, because I'm like, man, I'm still going through this. And now, like, he kind of he has to go through it with me. He knew my dad had passed, when he asked me to marry him. So it's not like he didn't know what he signed up for. But I think for me, it's just like every little girl's dream is, to have her dad there when she gets married. And now it's like, he don't even know this guy. Like, he didn't get to meet him. I have no idea if he would have ever liked him. Like, I'm just kidding. But, and my mom is the representation. But if anybody knows my mom,
she loves me.
She does. My mom is a little more.
Bishop, if he's anything like he was in the pulpit, he probably would have acted like he didn't like you.
Exactly. He would have at least acted like he hated you. Deep down, he would have liked you, though. And so I think that's been a super, super vulnerable space. Not just for me going through it, but even for him trying to be understanding, because he's being understanding from a lens that he hasn't really experienced yet. You know what I'm saying? And so that has been quite the thing. And then of course we just started marriage counseling. So if you're not vulnerable nowhere else,
exactly,
that is, that's really a patience tester, because don't stare off in the distance. Because it's like you're even more open. And Jabari he's not much of a talker. He's an observer. I can flip back and forth from time to time, but being in marriage counseling, having to talk through things that you wouldn't normally bring up, like Pastor JJ and Pastor Trina said, things you wouldn't normally talk about or want to talk about, you have to get it out so that you kind of know how to deal with it as it goes on. One thing our marriage counselor keeps saying, these problems will reoccur. Yeah. So you're going to have to learn how to deal with them where you are right now. So when they resurface in 5 years, okay, I remember that. This is a different person, but we know how to, navigate this. So yeah, I think those would be the two.
That's good. That's good. My dad died when I was 12. So wow. I had to get married without him. And I honestly got to tell you, it's nothing that you ever get over. Grief comes in stages. And so, and my mom just passed last March. So it'll be days I'm good. And then something would trigger a thought, or something would make me want to call her, or, you know what I mean? And I was a daddy's girl. Spoiled rotten. I was 12. I was the baby. My brother's 7 years older. So, so that devastated me. I was a hellion in my teen years because I was rebellious from it. But so it's something you never, ever get over. And I honor Jabari because you'll have to deal with that for the rest of your life. And it becomes, and my husband knew that too, going into our marriage, that's something he had to deal with. And now we have to deal with that together because life evolves. And it'll be other events, other things that you'll have to go through together that you didn't think that you could go through together. But love, and I love that you guys are doing counseling, and your relationship with God will help that. You know, we have folk on here saying the same thing, that they had to get married without their dads, and you know, so they totally understand. And then you guys are in the public's eye, both of you, both couples are in the public's eye. How does that affect? Let's see, Mike White says, when you have a moment, talk about balancing celebrity. I'm jumping right into that, Mike. Thank you. So both of you are in the public's eye. So how does that affect your relationship? How does that reflect? And now, Trina, JJ, you have spiritual sons and daughters under you. You got a whole congregation on top of the public of who you are. You know, Jabari, you're not just in the gospel arena. You're also a professional guitarist. So you're throughout the music industry. Jasmine, because of who you are and your parents, and because of what you do on social media, you guys are living out loud in front of everybody. How does that affect your marriage and relationship?
Honestly, I have to attribute it to the fact that when we got married, I was a pastor's daughter, or I am a pastor's daughter. So
you can relate to Jasmine. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, from day one, our relationship has always been in some type of public light. That I don't think we see ourselves as celebrities. I say that with all humility, but I don't think we see ourselves in that light. And I think that is helpful to our marriage.
Because Thursday I got to take out the garbage.
He got to take out the garbage. I got to do.
And that's why I love you guys. I really do. Because you're touchable.
These dishes.
Yeah, and you actually do love people. But
yeah, we have 3 kids. All of those things will keep you humble. But I'm not gonna make it seem like we're perfect. There are times where we struggle because in building new things and in ministry and everything, sometimes we don't always see eye to eye. But we always keep the respect for each other. And we never let the outside voices kind of get into our home, so to speak. And so finding out how to cut that off, where to draw the line, makes us good business partners, because we realize, look, I got to live with this man, and we got to be happy. We got to live together, and we have to be happy. So that will curtail sometimes when I want to go off or something like that. That will curtail. It'll change your language when you realize that this is a lifetime commitment here. People are going to come and go out of your life, but this is what is going to be going on till death do us part. So I think that changes the atmosphere, changes the vibe of what happens in our house.
I'll say, like she said, we learned from day one that the outside, if you let it, can affect your home. Like being the pastor's daughter, like I would get sat down if we had an argument and stuff. Like
from the pastor.
Listen, one time
you just over no argument. You got that down because you did something.
One time, my father-in-law, Archbishop J.C. White, told me he was gonna bust my kneecaps.
Sure did.
Man of God.
My dad is from Brooklyn, and I am the baby, and he was protecting his baby.
So,
he was gonna get your kneecaps busted.
Get my kneecaps. So because of that, you know, we always had to learn how to balance what happened outside and what happened inside the home. Now that we're older and we now only are not in the limelight because of music, whatever that looks like. But because we have a responsibility of living our lives in front of the congregation, we've had to really learn how to prioritize. We're very careful not to use the word balance, because if when you say balance, that means you're giving equal weight. Like, so that means, you know, whatever's happening outside has to happen inside. You know, like if you're saying, okay, you balance your life and church life, that means both sides get the same amount of responsibility and the same amount of weight. We don't do that. We prioritize. So we prioritize our relationship over what we do in the church, and even we prioritize our conversations over the conversations we receive or have throughout the congregation. If we do that, we can live in a way where we appreciate everyone else, but everyone doesn't affect our relationship.
And then we don't hang out and I hope I'm not going to get in trouble for saying this, but there's certain circles and things that we don't get with because we know that we have to protect our marriage. Yeah. Because you follow a certain crowd, you get involved with what that crowd is getting involved in. But we've learned to kind of place a hedge around our marriage, to whereas we try to alleviate any outside influences from what we do.
That's so good. That's so good. And the balance piece that you talked about, because most of the time people say, oh, I have to balance church and marriage, or I have to balance career and marriage. Yeah. But each thing doesn't get equal weight.
Right.
That's right.
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 That's so
because if you say you're balancing, that means I have to be just as dedicated to my music as I am my marriage. And
that don't always work.
That's not going to work because that means when I feel like me and her are having a good season, I got to go make sure musically we're doing. No, I'm good if I don't release a record for a year, but our relationship is growing stronger in that year. Then that's my reward.
But that catalog though is why you can probably just sit back and chill right now.
Exactly. Like, don't try to throw that out there like you ain't got it. Please stop.
All right, Jabari, Jasmine.
Well, I'll say one thing that I'm learning is to be present when I'm home, because I'm always gone. And before I took the job in Chicago, she didn't want me to take it because she was like, yo, that's going to put a strain on our relationship because you're going to always be gone. I was like, no, I got you. But then like probably 3 months into it, I started seeing what she was talking about. And like when I'm home, she's at work. And then when she get off work, I'm probably like, I'm ready to eat and go to sleep or something like that. But yeah, I'm really just learning to be present when I'm home. Like one of the things they're teaching us in what's this premarital counseling is to put the phones down, because she got an issue with me being on social media all the time. And I get it. I understand.
And Jasmine, that's your job. That's like what you do.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah. So it's easy for her to get sick of it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm
yeah.
But honestly, I really, and this is weird because I really just had this like eye-opening moment last night. I haven't been on social media a whole hour today. Because listen, and there's the reason why. I was like,
that's big, y'all. That's
really big. Because I'm usually on there probably like 7, 8. Yeah. I'm usually on there all day, on checking while I'm driving, all that. I was like, I'm not benefiting anything from being on here looking at other people's lives all day. And it became like it was draining. It's draining. Like
it is.
Like you be wanting to do stuff, and then you get on there and be like, it's just a big thing of highlight reels, and it's just like sometimes it'll get to you. And she be sitting there looking at me like sometimes like, yo, are you okay? I'm just like, yeah, I'm good, but I'm really not, because something on social media done triggered me, and I'm just like, that kind of stuff can like weigh in on the relationship, stuff like that. But I'm learning. This is new, so pretty much right.
Definitely will, especially newlyweds and you guys being in the public side. My advice too is to not let anybody into your relationship, not even your parents. That's the hard part. Not even your parents. Your marriage is your marriage. It's not their marriage. It's not your pastor's marriage. Right. You guys have to figure it out for yourself. And when you let outside interferences into your marriage, it always causes problems because you have to set the boundaries for your own relationship and how you want your house to run, how you want your household. And they may not understand that. We were just talking about how, we're probably a generation ahead. We're probably Xers and you guys are millennials, I imagine, or maybe even Zers. But
we're not millennials.
No, I'm talking Jabari and Jasmine. JJ, Trina and I are Xers, right? Yeah. And so we're a generation ahead of you guys, but I think that you guys, we talked about J4, Mian, their children who are more mature going into marriage. And I see that, I sense that with you and Jasmine, because one thing that you guys do is you see from your parents of the generation ahead and almost kind of prepare for it. And so you don't say, you know, like JJ said, they got married as teenagers. You know, when I first met my husband, it was spontaneous like that, right? Making just major decisions, joint accounts, all this other stuff that you guys just aren't doing. Like you seem to be more prepared for it. I don't know if it's the social media. I don't know if it's technology or what it is, or even if it's just the parents or the way generations evolve. But I'm just very proud of your comments going into engagement, because I was like, if me and Dwight knew that before when we were engaged.
I think the benefit that we have, we are millennials. We're I guess we fall in the middle, right at the top tier of millennials, but we both have boomer parents.
Older
so parents skip a generation. And then my dad was silent generation. So
wow.
All my siblings, well, not all, but most of my siblings are Xers. And then I'm the baby as a millennial. But whereas our counterparts, our peers, a lot of them have ex-parents. So they think a little differently than we do. And that's not to say we haven't made dumb decisions at all. But it does kind of move the needle a little bit when it comes to some things we just not gonna do. Even if we don't have a reason for why we ain't gonna do it, our parents just told us that's not what we do, and we just it just kind of sticks with you. Our peers don't always have that same testimony, so I think that is a benefit for both of us. Even though I didn't grow up this way. I have a sister right above me who struggled with having older parents. She's just like, all my friends' parents are young and fun, and we got to go to church. And that was a struggle for her. I didn't care. I was like, yeah, it is what it is. Like, we just got to do what we got to do. But I think that's an advantage that we have.
I do too. I see that.
Yeah,
I see that as an advantage. So again, for our audience, if you have any questions for Pastor JJ and Trina, if you have any questions for Jabari and Jasmine, have you guys set a date yet, Jabari and Jasmine?
December the 7th.
December 7th?
Yeah, it was on Thursday because Friday I said no. Friday and Saturday weddings, that joint
expensive.
To book the venue was $12,000.
I was going to say that's financially wise.
Right.
That's financially wise.
Y'all better come on Thursday.
And who will come will come.
Right.
Yep. Amen. I think that's great. So, okay, here's Bradley. What topics are couples normally not comfortable talking about? Give an example. I think because I was talking about intimacy, that, being vulnerable with talking with your mate. So he was wondering what questions are couple. You would be surprised. It's a lot of couples that don't speak intimately. There's a lot of things that couples hide from each other, which is why I posed the question, because the norm should be is that you're not hiding anything from your mate.
I think for us, we were afraid to hear about desires and temptations. We were nervous about talking about that type of stuff. It's like I would rather not know, right? But the fact that we were able to talk through it, like now I can tell her stuff. Like I see what that is. Nope. I swear somebody's waiting with a camera around the corner to catch me doing something. Just waiting. So I live my life in that way. Like, nope, you're gonna catch me. So I think we learned and we got there. I was afraid and honestly not even prepared to even think about the fact that she might like what other dudes look like. Like that's impossible. That's
like
the way
physically attracted to somebody else.
Like
it is. I'm not. There's no way I would ever think.
But then I found out
than you.
She liked Ludacris. Now
I never liked Ludacris.
Everybody
She like Tank. And she think he's singing at the wedding. I said, you lost your mind. Nope.
You cannot put that out there about me. I don't want nobody to think I like
Every time that little Cheetos commercial, we start rapping with the Cheetos, I get mad every time.
I do not like Ludacris.
But listen, Jay, that's me in common. And then, but my husband looks like him. Like, you know, Dwight he's got you. He's got the beard and he's bald. So,
right. See,
he looks like it.
I think you are the cutest man in the world. There's nobody better than you. Nobody.
Okay, here we go. Now.
Listen, she don't want them Luda problems. You know,
See that?
She might have a physical type, but she know what comes with that.
But honestly, that's the kind of stuff we talked about that most couples are uncomfortable talking about. Really, church couples don't talk about what we find attractive. And what we find, I mean, this is marriage, right? Y'all engaged, so cover your ears.
I'm covering your ears. Listen,
like what we find enjoyable physically. Like, we don't talk about that as church couples. It's like, let the Lord have His way. No, we need to be able to be happy with each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And those are conversations that we were not having initially. But as we grew and learned each other more, we started to have those conversations. I can honestly say now, Cheryl, there's nothing about me that she doesn't know.
Yeah.
And likewise.
There's like,
we know. Oh, another thing, well, I know for me was weight. I didn't want to talk about weight. I didn't want him to know how much I weighed. Women struggle with things like that.
Pull Trina into the frame a little more, because I can barely see.
Night, can you see me
I keep trying to get her to move over.
I'm shy. I'm camera shy anyway. But weight was one of those things that I didn't want to talk about. You'd be surprised. Finances are one of the things that couples don't talk about. They want separate accounts, and you can't touch my money. I don't want you to know what's going on with my money. All those things. And honestly, it kills that intimacy that you were talking about, Cheryl. Like the fact that you have a secret and the fact that there is something that you don't want to open up about. That's one of those things that kills the intimacy and kills the vulnerability in the marriage. But now he knows everything about me, stuff he don't even want to know. I'm telling him, like, look, you're my best friend. That means you're going to know good, the bad, the ugly, whatever it is. You're going to know everything. Yeah.
Yeah. My husband and I, you know, we do marriage ministry, and we talk about intimacy and sex openly, about, you know, really making sure you know what your mate loves in the bed, out of the bed, what they desire. You know, that COVID weight came on. I gained 20 pounds just being here for COVID. And just, I had that conversation with him. Like, I've gained this weight. Are you uncomfortable? He's like, well, I gained weight too. Like, I don't have no hair when you first met me. Like, we had those conversations because people don't talk about it, right?
I'm telling her, like, we're gonna get fat together. Listen,
right? and then this is good for Jabari and Jasmine as they're engaged, so that they won't have those walls, right? We've had couples in our couples ministry who won't be in the bathroom with their mate. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, he can't be in the bathroom.
He hates that. He hates it.
You know what I mean? But I mean, we have separate, stalls, but our bathrooms are connected to our bedrooms. So we talking to each other through the,
through the door, like, door open, everything.
Yeah, but
get out of here.
We have couples that won't, we have one couple who her husband never seen her without makeup.
Oh, wow.
Like those kind of things. Yeah. And you're married, and then, you know what I mean? So then when you gain weight, then your husband gonna have a lot to say about you gaining weight, because, you know what I mean? But you gotta be vulnerable. You gotta be open, and marriages work. And going into your marriage, if your husband gonna have a problem with your weight now, and he don't like you without makeup now, you gonna have to live your life like that.
Oh yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
And same vice versa. If your wife is expecting you to be this way, and y'all not willing to grow together,
right?
So this is good. I mean, this is good for you and Jabari and Jasmine, that you guys have to be vulnerable. You got to have that intimacy of being vulnerable with each other before you say I do, and comfortable with that. Because as you grow old, things change, stuff shifts.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. And you got to be, and not just the physical either.
Mm-hmm.
You know, dealing with mindset, dealing with if somebody suffered with depression. You know, Jasmine talked about that grief process.
Mm-hmm.
Things happen, and we got to be able to be free to talk to each other about that in our marriage. What is something that you guys have been afraid to talk to each other about in your engagement, or are you at the place now where you're not afraid to talk to each other about anything?
I think since we started counseling, we just say whatever now, you know, just come out with it. And she brought up weight one time. I told her, girl, I like you when you thick. Just don't end up on my 600-pound life. We're good. That's good. You know? Just don't end up on there. We all right. No, but
no, counseling has been an eye opener. I think for me specifically, like Pastor Trina said, and Cheryl, and Pastor JJ, being a church kid. Now he was a church kid. He wasn't a preacher's kid. There's a difference because it's a pressure to that preacher's kid.
I'm a missionary. My dad was a Sunday school teacher and a deacon. That's it.
He got away with a little bit more.
Yeah.
Do you know who my mama is?
Touche. Andy. But it's just that perception.
No, it is. It is.
You know, you got to walk the straight and narrow, and if you don't, is, you know. And so one thing, and I'm vulnerable enough to share because I believe like it'll help somebody who's in my position. With a notable parent, I had siblings who were always in trouble. Oh God, they were trouble personified. And for me as the baby, I learned from their mistakes. That's how I grew up. I didn't do anything if I knew it disappointed my parents because I watched them be disappointed in that sibling and that sibling. And so even now, as far as about a week ago, it was such an aha moment in therapy or in counseling. Like, hey, you're not that little girl no more, though. Why are you still trying to
impress the congregation?
Or make sure mom and dad are not mad, you know? And the bigger eye opener in that moment was dad is gone. Wow. And so for me, I'm like, oh my God, you're right. Like, why am I trying to be the perfect kid? Who am I trying to do this for? You know what I'm saying? And so I think after that, me and Jabari, I mean, it was like okay, so let's just put it out on the table.
Yeah.
I ain't holding nothing back. Let's do this.
I think one of the hardest things for me to talk about with her was like I got great parents. I love them to death. Like I said, I grew up in church. Mom was missionary, dad was Sunday school teacher, all that, you know. But the marriage aspect of it wasn't great. You know what I'm saying? So I think I strive so hard now not to, because I'm like, I love my parents, but they when they fight, they go at it. Boy, they go at it. And so I'm like, now I'm about to get married. I'm like, yo, so I saw this happen. I don't want this going on in my house. I think one of the hardest things for her is like when I'm mad, I'm quiet, or I go to the gym, play basketball. I like to get away because my godfather always told me, hey, if you get mad, I feel like you about to say something out of pocket, leave the house and go for a walk. That was always his thing. So I'll go to the gym, play ball or something like that. But for her, it's like, let's talk about it right now. We got to get this out right now.
Right.
So one time, it ain't fair for you to leave me in this moment like this. I'm like, I really want to like get my words together.
Yeah.
Because I know me, my mouth's slicker than a can of oil. And I'll go, listen, when I'm gone, when I go there, I'm there. Mm-hmm. So I don't want anything to happen that'll ruin this relationship. So I'll be like, yo, babe, just chill for a minute. Let me come back to it. But
yeah, I'd be wanting to talk about it.
Should be wanting to go for it.
Yeah. I think we all do as women.
Yeah, that's like us. He's very reserved. I'm more of let's talk about this right now. Only because
sorry, my dog.
Your dog want to talk about it right now.
Say what? I know Logan ain't.
Like, what is happening? No, I understand that because I just always felt like I wanted to talk about it now because I don't want it to come up 3 arguments later, a month later. Now you're going to bring up something that's old. Like, we should have talked about that already. But that's just the culture I grew up in. I grew up in a very expressive culture. If something is bothering you, you address it at the time. Whereas he's more like, I think you guys have more in common with us than what we realize. Is because the similarities are so strong. Like, he was like that. He's very reserved because he didn't want to say anything. I won't share his story for him, but he grew up in an abusive home. So he saw verbal abuse. He may have even saw some physical abuse as well. And he didn't want to repeat those same patterns. So every time we would argue and we would fight, he would walk away because he
completely
shut down. And here it is. I'm arguing, blood pressure going up. I'm arguing. And then
going.
Yeah. Then finally, I'm like, okay, I know, we got to be in this for a lifetime. I'm going to have to change. I'm going to ask him to do something different, but then I got to pipe down. Mm-hmm. I got to pipe down and just let him take his moment so that we can talk about it at a good space, a good time that's both of us, so that we both feel safe in the conversation. So yeah, we can relate to you guys a lot.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so much better when you do it like that though. Cause like if I'm hot, I'm gonna say whatever. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But if I could come back and be like, all right, babe, so let's talk about this, blah, blah, blah. Let her get her spiel out. Then I say what I got to say. We come to some kind of a agreement. Well, or maybe she was right and I was wrong, or maybe I was right, which is pretty much all the time. And she was wrong. I'm playing. I don't want no trouble. You know what I'm saying?
Slicker than oil.
And after that, it's like she wanna cuddle and watch a movie with me rather than cut my throat because I done said something crazy. You know what I'm saying? So it's right.
Yeah. That's good though. You find the happy medium and you find the best way to communicate. I think one of the things I have in common with everybody too is my husband's introverted. I'm the extrovert. I'm the one on 10. So, and I'm the one with the slick mouth. That I got a gift of gab. So, honey, I could cuss you without cussing you. I promise you. Mm-hmm. And so I had to learn to communicate through writing. If my husband got a letter from me, he knew, oh man, I must be in trouble. Yeah. And I would leave it in his car and then we would come back and talk about it because, that's just how we had to deal with it because he was shut all the way down while I'm giving all this.
Yeah.
He was shut all the way down. Yeah. And in order for us to communicate, my husband's the type that he's quiet, but he's strong about, the way he feels and he leads well. So he would say what he has to say and he's done. And I'm still going and now I done said something crazy, but he's done. Right. Yeah. So I had to learn to write my stuff down. If he got a long text from me, if he got a letter from me, something he told the couples ministry the other day, I haven't had a letter in a long time.
He's doing good.
Yeah. But you have to find the happy medium. And if you have to leave for a minute, Jabari, like you said, and come back and revisit it, just don't revisit it. That's the thing. Because some people will walk away and think that it's over and it's done. But you got to come back and deal with it.
We started
great conversation.
What we started doing was we would text each other. Mm-hmm. We literally sitting right next to each other
and texting each other.
But rather than going off and putting all the tone in it, we say what we want to say so you can see it but not hear it. Because most of the time, what you're saying is valid, but the way you say it is harsh.
And you can't take words back after you said it.
But
you know what I mean? And it sticks in there in your mind. Like that's how you really feel about me. But when you're writing it or texting it and you read it, you're like, okay, let me change that because I don't want to miss that understood. Yeah. Which is why I would have to write it out. Like I said, I would have to write it out and say it because I just didn't want to not communicate what I was saying in the midst of me being heated and passionate about it. Yeah.
So do that ever like make y'all laugh when y'all sitting next to each other and y'all like
and then you're like, this is so dumb. Why are we not? We just start cracking up.
Why are we doing this?
You look crazy sitting there texting me when I'm right here. Especially when he get his thumbs going, he real passionate. I'm like, you know what? Just say what you gotta say. But I like something that Jabari and both Cheryl alluded to, the fact that you acknowledge the person first and then say, I hear you, but I need a minute. So that the other person doesn't feel like they're just being ignored.
Yeah.
I heard Jabari say like, hey, babe, I need a minute. Let me walk away. That's acknowledging that there is an issue, but I'm not ready to address it now, as opposed to him just, storming out the door and walking out or whatever. I think that's really important because a lot of us just want to be heard.
Yeah.
We just want to be acknowledged and want to be heard. So the fact that you're telling me that you need a moment that you can come back and really hear me lets me know that you still care. You still care. Even though we're mad, you still care about what we're feeling in this moment. So I think it works. And I like the fact that he said that.
Yeah. So in an age, and we're gonna end with this, in an age where marriage isn't popular, of course, with Jabari and Jasmine being younger and wanting to be married, let's talk about the importance of it. Let's get, why you think it's important to be married and to remain married. And then we'll end with that because I really want to end with, this whole thing of union and love. And so many people today feel like, I don't need the paper. I don't need to be at the altar. I don't need to. But why is marriage important to you?
Well, I'll start off by saying, and you'll hear me say this so often, marriage is supposed to be like a walking billboard, displaying how much Jesus is dedicated and in love with his church. That is one of the purposes of marriage, so that it carries such a weight that when people look at you, especially because you're in the limelight too, when people look at you and they'll see the way you treat your, now I'm not saying that you would ever do this, but if they see things not going right, you always arguing, the things that we see in marriages these days, cheating and not caring about each other, that is to indicate to an unbeliever that Jesus would do the same thing to them.
Yeah.
And that is not our God. That is not the way he operates. He is married to us. He is dedicated to us. There's nothing he would have let happen to take him away from us. And so we are supposed to our marriages are actually supposed to demonstrate that, so that when people see you and they do that hashtag goals or whatever, that's your witness and opportunity to say, hey, maybe you don't have anybody, but Jesus loves you just the same. That is the opportunity to demonstrate the love of Christ. And so that's why I feel like we need to place more emphasis on marriages. We need to make sure that there are strong marriages in the limelight, because that is supposed to be the example. That is supposed to be the pattern of the way Christ loved his bride.
So good.
I don't know if I'm supposed to follow that, but
that was good.
Statistically, it's been proven that the strongest communities have strong families.
Mm-hmm.
Period. So if you want to find a church that's strong, you can have a church that's like banging, music's crazy, and if it's all singles, it's gonna be great for a season.
Yeah.
But what makes that ministry stable is strong families. It's the same for communities. Like you can have a whole development full of single people, but eventually those people are gonna move when they find a family. So the communities that have the most stability are the ones that have strong family. We are what makes our community strong. So if you want to talk about the importance of the family, you won't have a strong community without it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Jabari, Jasmine?
We already discussed this. You got it.
No, I think marriage is important because, not to bite on Pastor Trina, but what she said is accurate. It is a reflection of Jesus' love for the church. One thing that my dad always used to say was, a man will get a license for a dog, but won't get a license for a woman. You'll need to be with him.
Wow.
If he can take care of a dog, he'll take care of you. And so for me, you know, I grew up not with a warped way of thinking about it, but it was just like, okay, what are we doing? If the intent to date is forever, we're not gonna do this, because that's a waste of time. It's a waste of, we could just be single. That's
what she told me.
That's what Paul said. Listen, it's better to be married than to burn. But if you can be single, just be single, not to be distracted, you know, by, you know, learn, you know, following Jesus. But my thing was with him, I want to be married. I finally got into a place though where I was okay not being married. You know, relationship after relationship, I'm just like, you know what, I'm gonna just be a cool auntie. But there was still a desire for marriage. And so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just put my hat right here and, you know, go on, because I do believe we're supposed to procreate. We're supposed to, you know, bring new life, teach people. Sometimes we may not, well, he's a worship leader, so he's always gonna, you know, usher people into the presence of God. You know, it's supposed to, you know, bring them into that relationship. But for me, it's like, what if I don't have that opportunity? If I don't reach somebody, I feel like I'm gonna reach my kids. You know, at least I have my kids. So, and my thing, I'm not having kids out of wedlock. So I'm like, I want to be married. But just like Pastor Trina, like I said, it's a demonstration of how Jesus loved his church. And I used to think that the purest form of love that I saw in human form was my dad. And I'm like, man, my mom is so fortunate to get that on a level. Like, I get it as a kid, but yo, she gets it on a whole nother level. I would love to experience that. And so I always admired that type of love, and to just be able to experience it with somebody like a Jabari Johnson is like, wow, I'm really about to experience Jesus's love in human form. This is so yeah.
Yeah. The covenant of marriage is so important, and I'm so glad that you guys are great examples of it. I am praying for everlasting love for you, Jabari and Jasmine, and that, like Trina says, not just being in marriages and existing, but being happy in your marriage and being okay that you're happy, because the world will make you feel like you crazy because you're happily married. That it's an anomaly, but you can have it, you can achieve it. And I pray that for you guys. I believe it for you guys. So know that, you know, big sis Cheryl in DC is going to be rooting for you guys, and just praying and covering you guys for a successful marriage. JJ, Trina, you know how much I love you guys. You're my brother and my sister. I'm excited about the success. I see the ministry growing. My heart is overwhelmed with happiness with how God is using you guys here in the DMV, and the impact that you guys are making, not just through music, but through the preached word and discipling those that are here. So I love you guys. Thank you for your time tonight. I got so many texts, and I see so many messages coming in. So I know that this was a blessing. Ron Thompson is saying thank you for saying yes. And we appreciate you guys. All right, new music coming. What we got? What's your next single, Jack?
Yeah, so I have a single dropping on March 17th. And we have a full project dropping on March 31st. So we're mega excited. It's gonna be good.
Okay. So is the next single bigger?
No.
Oh.
I tried to figure out a way to cut bigger down to 4 minutes.
I know. It's an experience.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
We get Danisha ballad on the song. You got to let her go. You can't try to restrict it. But the next single is gonna be something with me and Dion again. So it's
okay.
Cool.
Okay, cool. How about you, Jabari?
I'm working on something. I'm writing right now.
Okay.
So I got this one song I'm thinking about releasing in a few months. It'll be me, Pastor Jermon Glenn, and this rapper D Smoke. So it's called
One Touch still has a lot of legs though, so folk can just go ahead and download One Touch.
Yeah. Go check out the last record if you like it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The music, it's on the way though. Trust me, it's gonna be lit.
Jasmine, what are you working on? Anybody should just follow your socials, or?
Yeah, well, I have to do better about posting my work because I don't. I do reels as a way of just kind of relieving my mind from the seriousness of social media. And I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but if we didn't have it, I don't know how most churches would have made it through the pandemic. So I think for me, I'm securing contracts and helping people's visions come to life. That's always been one of my goals. I've always been in the background, pushing the vision and helping it, manifest in front of the eyes of the people. So I'm getting back out there. I stopped for a little while just because my 9-to-5, I was doing it there. And I don't know if y'all know, I can say I work for the bishop of all bishops. I work at the Potter's House. And digital media for the Potter's House was like, I'm not doing nothing for myself.
Got it.
And so now that I've transitioned to another role within the ministry, I freed up some time and some space to actually help other ministries, kind of reach the level that they're at, when digital is concerned. So I'm getting back out there.
Amen.
JJ didn't call me for this last record. I guess I didn't play good on the other one.
Oh, what?
Oh, God. Here we go.
I'm like, I don't know if I want him to sing or play because dude is singing like
I know. I know. Right? And Trina, I see that you're taking dates too. So you coming from behind the scenes. I see that you can be both as well.
That's why she caught me off guard when she said she was camera shy. I was like,
oh, but I am. I'm very introverted, extremely introverted. I'm very camera shy, but I am excited about a conference that we're having in April. Ancient Oil is
her first conference.
My first conference. It's going to be from Wednesday to Friday, and I have a pretty good lineup coming to this DMV area that I'm very, very excited about. So
April 5th through the 7th. That's
Holy Week.
The Holy Week. Yeah, lead up to Good Friday.
All right. I'll be there.
I know you will. Thank you. I'm gonna make sure you're there.
All right. I love you guys. Thank you so much. That's going to do it for us tonight. We're a little bit over time, but it's fine. This has been great. I've gotten a lot of feedback already. We got to do this again.
Yes.
So after the marriage, after the wedding, Jabari and Jasmine, we'll have you guys come back. Okay. All right. Love you guys. All right. Bye-bye.
You too.